Hey everyone, finish watching the next VR Troopers episode on the wrong track. Caitlin is given a new story to cover, an athletic event in Mexico. Grimlord, meanwhile, has magic golden medals that will turn athletes into mutants loyal to him. Caitlin meets up with an old friend, Tim, who's going to be competing in the upcoming event. Percy gets injured trying to pole vault, so Ryan and JB are sent with Caitlin in his place to be her assistants covering the event. The troopers are contacted by Professor Hart. He warns of a break in the reality barrier near the stadium. JB finds Doommaster and some Skugs. He fights them off, and the others show up. They suspect Grimlord must be after the athletes. They see Tim later, and he's acting weird. Suddenly, he disappears, and his medal flies away. He turns into a new monster, Athletatron. Professor Hart tells Caitlin to try and stop any other medals from being handed out. Ryan transforms to face Athletatron, while JB tries to nullify the medals. He uses the sky base to expose them to close sunlight, which will render them harmless. Ryan defeats Athletatron and rescues Tim. Grimlord's plan is foiled and everything is back to normal. This is a pretty standard episode, elevated by some pretty cool action scenes. Percy's antics at the beginning are pretty funny and feel straight out of a sitcom of the time. Doommaster, unfortunately, doesn't get much to do action-wise, but there's a pretty impressive Skug battle. Caitlin repeatedly tries to stall the awards ceremony, and it's awkward and goes on a bit too long. I think this is a part where Percy could have really been useful. Have Caitlin encourage Percy to interview someone or make a speech. He'd be ecstatic to give a long-winded speech. Not much groundbreaking here. It's fast-paced and it goes by pretty quick. So that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya. Hey everyone, finish watching the next VR Troopers episode, Forward into the Past. Doommaster is in disguise and gives the troopers some magic bracelets that send JB and Caitlin into some other time period. Grimlord reveals to his minions that he got the bracelets from another worldly being, Nighttime. JB and Caitlin have gone to prehistoric time and run into some cavemen. Ryan, meanwhile, goes to the lab to try and find JB and Caitlin. Back in the past, the cavemen mistake Caitlin's radio for magic and think they're gods. Grimlord sends Skugs to attack Ryan to stop him from moving the plot along, I guess. The cavemen get mad when the radio's battery dies and they tie up JB and Caitlin. Nighttime shows General Ivar a new time device that Grimlord plans to use on the rest of the city or the world or something, I don't know. Hart detects it and Ryan goes to use it to get JB and Caitlin back. Grimlord sends Lizbot to stop him. Ryan defeats Lizbot, finds the time device, and transports JB and Caitlin back to the present. Nighttime goes back to his dimension, and then at the newspaper, JB and Caitlin are startled by Woody dressed as a caveman for a commercial he was in. So this episode was pretty When I was looking around for images for this episode and I watched the trailer, I was thinking, wow, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in this episode. This is gonna be fun. It's not the worst episode, but it's definitely not very ambitious or interesting or even all that much fun to talk about. Yeah, it's a pretty bland episode of VR Troopers, not one of the best. Of Season 2, the post-Scheider switchover, this is probably one of the weaker episodes, although there is some creative stuff in there, like the cavemen stuff. It's cliche and silly, but it's different, I guess, from the typical VR Troopers plot. Nighttime is a fascinating character. I believe he came from Spielbahn, where he wasn't a he was like an androgynous, genderless being. And I seem to remember them having a deeper voice. And again, not having a gender or something. But over here, it's really weird because Grimlord constantly calls it he.
Yes, he is telepathic. And with his help,
But Nighttime has a girl voice.
You have little faith, General. It will be completed on time.
Really clearly a girl's voice. I don't know, they missed their T injection or something? So, I don't know, good on Grimlord for using its correct pronouns. Their, his, whatever. Not that Nighttime even really matters to this episode. He was completely unnecessary. They didn't need him at all. Like, he comes in as the one who gave Grimlord the magic bracelets, but why did we need that? Usually Grimlord, if there's some magic doohickey or whatever, he just has it. Or Ivar and Icebot make it. Why did we need nighttime? And at the end, there's like an implication that nighttime will return in a future episode. So I'm wondering, why not just save this for that later appearance? Not a very interesting episode to talk about. Just really basic, kind of boring after like 80-some episodes or whatever. I think it's like episode 76. So yeah, that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya. Hey everyone, finished watching the next VR Troopers episode, Into Oraclon's Web. Oraclon tells Grimlord that he knows a weakness of Ryan's steals. At the dojo, Ryan is helping judge a competition. He takes a liking to a competing girl, and Caitlin suddenly sees the girl's eyes flash red. She isn't sure what to think. The girl, Alexis, introduces herself to Ryan and asks for some help training for an upcoming competition. Percy comes in wearing a karate outfit, jumps around, makes monkey noises, and gets tripped by Jeb. Moving on. The next day, Alexis trains at the dojo. Caitlin watches her perform a spin kick perfectly. She then sees Alexis pretend not to know how to do one when training with Ryan. She tells JB they're not really sure what to think of this. Jeb suggests that they call her dojo. She has a student card with a number on it. They call and get an answer. The man who answers seems to know who she is, but then they also say to say hello to Tao. JB is suspicious. He never said where he was calling from. The audience is shown that it was actually Grimlord he was talking to over the phone, disguised as Carl Zichter, disguised as someone else. They confront Ryan about her and go to see her. They see the girl walk into a warehouse. They follow her inside. She sees them and orders some skugs to tie her up. She calls for help, pretending to be in danger. The troopers fight off the skugs and free Alexis. She tells them she was sent instructions to come here for information on the next competition she's entering. She thanks Ryan for saving her and insists they go out on a date. She takes him to a museum, and then they go down to the basement where she locks him in. She screams for help, pretending again to be in danger. Ryan transforms to break out, but the door is locked too tight to open. He doesn't want to risk hurting Alexis if he shoots through the wall, so he scans for a weak spot. He finds a hidden door with a motorcycle on the other side. At the newspaper, Alexis comes in and asks JB and Caitlin about Ryan. She pretends not to know where he is. Percy comes over to demonstrate a new judo move he learned and spills water on her. Her body begins to spark and short-circuit, and JB puts it together that she's not human and demands to know what she did with Ryan. A fight breaks out. Ryan, meanwhile, escapes the museum but ends up in Grimlord's base. Grimlord and Oraclon spill their plan to him. Oraclon then leaves his usual perch on the wall with a body of tentacles and robot legs. He and Ryan begin to fight. Back at the newspaper, Alexis reveals her true form, a robot. It rampages through, but JB and Caitlin don't dare transform in front of everyone. They run out the back door and lead the robot safely away from the newspaper building. They shoot it with lasers until it suddenly explodes. Ryan stabs Oraclon's third eye and destroys him. Grimlord orders Doommaster and Despara to rebuild Oraclon. At the newspaper, Ryan returns to find it trashed. He berates himself for trusting Alexis, but his friends reassure him. This was a pretty awesome episode. It starts off looking like it's going to be like a pretty average episode, but the action really pushes this one. We've got the classic Saban glowing evil eyes, as well as a monster disguised as a girlfriend. It's similar to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers episode Goldar's Vice Versa, where Scorpina poses as a new girl, practicing karate no less, that Adam develops a crush on. Percy's goofiness actually plays an important role this time around. It leads to revealing the main bad guy. An interesting thing about this episode's plot is what the audience knows versus what the characters know. From almost the start, the audience knows something's up with Alexis, while the characters are at the most suspicious until the big reveal. Attention comes not from a mystery with Alexis, but more how the troopers will figure things out. Grimlord's plan this time was surprisingly well thought out quite a bit, probably because it was actually Oraclon's plan. The battle with Oraclon is amazing. It's always cool when the villains who aren't typical fighters take part in the action. Alexis's robot identity is less impressive, while in the newspaper building, it's pretty cool. It's throwing people around, it's smashing stuff. Once it's let outside, JB and Caitlin just shoot it and it explodes. There's not a single punch thrown. It's just they stand there and shoot at it. After Oriclon is destroyed, there's a big hole where he used to be in the Dark Fortress, which is kind of a funny visual. Grimlord orders him to be rebuilt, implying that he's not an entirely organic life form. Huh. I guess. Weird. One more interesting thing to add, the device that Alexis uses to communicate with Oriclon and Grimlord was a modified Sega Game Gear Game Genie. I guess it is sufficiently weird looking. So, great episode. Easily one of the most action-packed so far. This was a really good one. I liked it. So that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya. Hey everyone, finished watching the next VR Troopers episode, Santa's Secret Trooper. Ryan is helping a children's group sell Christmas trees at Tao Dojo. Later, Ryan is driving the kids along with his friends somewhere. JB sees something out the window. It looks like a Christmas elf. Zictor, meanwhile, sends some Skugs out to capture the elf. The troopers take the kids out to a forest. Caitlin strums a guitar while Ryan sings Christmas carols. After the song, the kids applaud, and so does the elf. He ducks away, and the kids chase him. Suddenly, he disappears and reappears up in a tree. He tells everyone from the tree his name is Otto, and he fell out of Santa's sleigh on a test flight. He asks for hot chocolate, and Caitlin offers him water. He accepts, dropping down a cup on a string. As soon as the water hits the cup, it magically becomes hot chocolate. Otto teleports down the tree and asks for help finding Santa. A kid asks him why he can't just wish himself back to Santa. Otto explains he can only grant wishes for others. Otto and the kids decorate Tao Dojo to music from Alpha's Magical Christmas. Saban getting the most out of his stuff. Unbeknownst to the troopers, Skugs have followed them. Inside, Skugs burst out of a giant present. They wrap Tao up in ribbon and trap him in the present box. The Skugs catch Otto and teleport away with him. The troopers free Tao, and he tells them what happened. Up in the Dark Fortress, Otto is making himself at home. He spins around on a stool and giggles, much to the frustration of the villains. Grimlord wishes for the destruction of the troopers, but Otto just responds with, no. Okay. So I guess he doesn't work on genie rules. Grimlord orders Despara to cast a spell on Otto that will take away his wishing ability. Otto concedes and tells Grimlord he'll grant him 2 wishes. His first wish is to have the troopers transported to the Dark Fortress without their powers. It works. The troopers try to transform, but can't. The monsters mock them. The troopers try to fight back, but even their martial arts skills are gone. Otto suddenly gets an idea. He stomps on Grimlord's tail and tells him if he wants his second wish, he'll have to catch him first. The monsters forget about the troopers and try to catch Otto. He swipes Despara's wand and zaps everyone. Despara wrestles it back as Grimlord frustratedly proclaims he wishes he'd never met Otto. Otto grants his wish and returns with the troopers to Tao Dojo. Santa comes to Tao Dojo to pick up Otto and tells him next time wear his seatbelt. That was pretty funny. He hands out presents to everyone, and even Ryan's father comes to visit. Otto uses his magic to make it snow, and Santa flies away with some impressively bad animation. This is a pretty silly episode, but it's also a Christmas episode, so the tone kinda fits. The troopers never transform in this episode. I think this is the first outside of the premiere of VR Troopers way back, the very first of Season 1, to not have the troopers transform at all. Oddly, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Christmas episode, I'm Dreaming of a White Ranger, also featured no transforming for the heroes. This is definitely one of the cheesiest episodes of the whole show. It's fun, though. The villains are cartoonishly incompetent, and everything else is just reveling in Christmassy feelings. Otto's a fun character. Happy-go-lucky best describes him. His voice is either pitched up really high, or he was dubbed by someone else with a highly pitched-up voice. One scene has Tao showing the kids a menorah, and he says that Tao Dojo celebrates all religions, and I wonder if this was a reflection on Haim Saban, the producer behind Power Rangers and VR Troopers and all these related shows. His religious belief is, Messianic Judaism, I think I'm pronouncing that right, or Ecumenical Judaism, or something like that. The man who plays Santa in this episode is Robert D. Von Fliss. He played Santa in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Masked Rider, Beetleborgs, and according to IMDb, he has only one other credit, also Santa. This time, though, wasn't in a Saban production or even a Fox production. It was in a Christmas episode of JJ the Jet Plane. I never would have thought, of all things, JJ the Jet Plane would have some connection to VR Troopers. That was very strange to me. Interesting, though. Nothing else to say about it, so that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.